If you're going to be a freelancer, if you're going to go do this, it's not easy. So enjoy it. Design your business so that everything about it is fun. Finding your ideal client's a piece of cake. Just go look for somebody like you.
Everybody is not my audience if as a freelancer. So how do they go about finding that ideal clients?
And I think that's what we've been talking about is...
Hey, Steve.
Hello, Sudev.
Welcome back to Business Club.
Back to the laboratory, right?
Back to the laboratory. Yep. It's always a pleasure to have you here and discuss on various topics.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. So today we're talking about expanding your brand. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I know you shared some documents with me, and in one of that you highlight saying that the founder actually precedes the solution. Now, how can freelancers and startups establish credibility when there is nobody knows about them?
That's a tall question, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a one-person business trying to make a dent in the universe. That seems like a really tall task, doesn't it?
It does, but it may not be.
And what makes it smaller is to narrow the scope and to start thinking about who do you really want to help? What's the difference that you really want to make? And it begins there. And that is kind of a selfish thing to do. It's about recognizing what your superpower really is and where can I go apply that superpower where it's going to be valuable and I'm going to enjoy doing it.
Got it. And you mentioned character, reputation, and brand as key elements. How can new entrepreneurs intentionally build these three
Another
components?
tall order. But character and reputation is just who we are. Our whole lives, that's what we've been trying to figure out, I believe. Carl Jung had a quote.
Who, Carl Jung?
Carl Jung. Life really begins at 40. Everything up until then is just research. And 40 may or may not be your chronological age. It's that point in time when you are comfortable with who you are. And you wake up one morning and you go, hey, wait a minute. I think I know who I am. I think I know what I want to be. I think I know what I want to do. And we still have the right to change our minds. But at that point in time, I think we have enough of an understanding of the world and who we are that we can and should figure out how we can go make that difference. This is what I've been trained to do. This is the schooling I went for. These are the certifications I got. These are the experiences I have. And I now know enough that I might actually be able to help somebody. Okay, who? Let's go figure out how to do that. But it starts with you. You have to have that internal confidence in that that's what I want to go do. And I'm pretty comfortable with who I am.
Right.
I'm ready to go play the game.
Picking back on that, most of these freelancers and startups, when they start, they don't have any track record. How do you think they will counter that? Free sample?
I think that is the easiest answer.
Okay.
But when you think about that, that is a one-on-one event. So how am I going to find that one person that I want to go offer my free sample to? Do I want to go pick that person? Or do I want to somehow have them find me? And those are two completely different strategies.
Right.
And if you put your, what's the word I want? If you put your flag out there, put your sign out there, they will come. Okay, who's they? Who's coming? Do you have any idea who might be knocking on your door?
No.
You don't. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. I think that's a worthwhile thing to do, but I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket.
Yeah, so you probably want to, I follow your bottom of the funnel marketing. I think this fits in rightly. Who do I want to work with is what I have to define first.
Right.
Cool.
And to take that one tiny step further, one of my favorite gurus is a copywriter named Bob Bly. And he's made the comment that finding your ideal client's a piece of cake. Just go look for somebody like you. I mean, somebody who has similar attributes as you do, because you're going to have things in common with them, which
Right.
means you're going to like them and they're probably going to like you. And in the know, like, and trust game, that like hurdle is a good hurdle.
Right, absolutely. So you always say everybody is not my audience if as a freelancer. So how do they go about finding that ideal clients?
And I think that's what we've been talking about, is figuring out who is it you really want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to design your business, to me, the fundamental question is this the business you really want to be in?
Mm.
Well, yeah, I want to be in this business. Why? What makes this business for you fun?
Correct.
Well, I'm making the difference I want to make. I'm working with the people that I want to work with, and I'm able to make some money.
So Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Okay, got it.
Those are the 3 pieces.
3 pieces, okay. And what mistakes do you find these startups and freelancers often make when it comes to finding their ideal client or finding or pitching to the wrong audience?
That's the mistake. They pitch to anybody and everybody. And we've all been through this, right? Where we start our business and we need the money. So we're going to accept any client that says they want to work with us. Okay, fine. I'll do that. And what happens with that is we get out of our own lane. We start
Right.
doing things that we shouldn't be doing, and we start doing them for people we shouldn't be doing them for. You know, it takes a little bit of discipline to stay in your lane,
Right.
do what you're good at, and know what it is you're doing. So many of the clients I've had a chance to work with don't have a clear definition of what it is they want to do. I mean, they talk this marketing game where they talk all this marketing jargon about who they are and what it is they do, but they haven't really thought about, well, wait a minute, how exactly are you going to do that?
So that brings me to the question of value. How do you define your value in client terms if you're a freelancer?
Some way, somehow, the question, what do you do, has predominated anyone in business.
Yes.
That's the question we always ask. And we tell them, that's what I do. That's not what we should be telling them. What we should be talking to them about is the outcomes that we produce.
Right.
You know, you and I were talking about all these tools that we're going to talk to Business Club about.
Right.
Email, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Fantastic tools. And they can be used for a lot of different outcomes. And the real question is, what's the highest and best use of Facebook? If you're going to start to learn that particular tool for your business, for your marketplace, what is the number one thing you can do that Facebook is going to be most helpful for?
Right.
Zero in on something. You know, have a particular objective in mind in what tools and tactics you want to use. I'm not sure I answered that question.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I understand where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, the value has to be clearly articulated. Why am I hiring you if I'm hiring you?
And it's
Yeah.
based on outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I might hire you to teach me how to use Facebook, but that's not what I really
No.
want. What I really want is for you to show me how to use Facebook to generate really good leads.
Yep, I get it. So it's important to be known. It's important and people should know what you're doing. But as a freelancer, there is a chance that nobody knows if you exist, right? And if they don't know that you exist, they won't buy from you. What are some low-cost strategies, according to you, to build some brand awareness, since we're talking about branding?
Well, we talked about this a lot, and my favorite tools in my toolkit are LinkedIn and networking. But it really does come down, if you're going to go out and start meeting strangers, people you've never met before, you have to realize that you're starting from ground zero. If I meet you for the very first time, I literally don't know anything about you. And you're standing there telling me that you have this product that is super duper fantastic, great. Okay, fine, but who are you again? Why should I believe you?
Right.
And in today's Google world, you tell me what you do, I can go Google that, and I can go find other people who do it, and I'm going to find out that, oh, look, IBM does that. So am I going to hire IBM, or am I going to hire some freelancer?
Right. Yeah.
So it's tricky, but it comes down to establishing rapport and building that relationship one-on-one. And we've talked about building a word-of-mouth army.
Yeah.
And your word-of-mouth army are those people who know you.
Correct.
They've seen you. They've had a Zoom call with you. They've had a free sample of yours. They've heard you speak. They've seen you at a networking event more than once. All of those things add up to building a sense of credibility that, oh, wait a minute, I think Sudev is real. At some point in time, I think we do make that decision. And as the freelancer starting out, that's got to be our primary focus every day, to have at least one conversation with one new person to bring into our army.
Absolutely. And I've seen a lot of freelancers get lost in trying to become a commodity in the market, instead of what I recommend that they become is a specialist. Find your own niche. What are your thoughts on that?
There are certain industries or businesses that in today's world are simply commodities.
Right.
As soon as you tell somebody, I'm a financial services, but we all have an immediate reaction. Okay, I know what you do.
Insurance.
Yeah.
Sell insurance.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in that, if you're in one of those lines of work, you're going to have a really hard time specializing.
Right.
Because as soon as anybody hears anything close to what they think you know, what they think they know, well, you're just commoditized. But if you're bringing something completely different to the marketplace, that's a real specialty. And those are the two differences. They each have their own sets of problems. Both of them still require the same thing. If you're going to represent a commodity, you're still going to want to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody to try to explain to them that I'm not like everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. And specialists who are doing something all by themselves, brand new, out of the gate, they have the same problem. And we need to be able to talk to people. But remember, we only are going to remember a little bit. You can't tell me a 25-minute story and hope that I'm going to walk away and remember that. If I remember two things, I'm lucky. So we want to try to get our initial messaging short, sweet, and to the point.
Keep it simple and short.
Yes.
Simple.
Yes.
So many business owners or small businesses, they struggle with imposter syndrome. How can they overcome self-doubt and confidently market themselves?
The best solution to that is do something. Go help someone. Go get a client. Whether it's pro bono or for a fee, doesn't matter. But go do something and engage with a client and actually allow something to happen. The other element, I think, in all of us as a freelancer is, if we're doing what we truly love to do, that is going to make a big dent in that imposter syndrome. This is what I love doing. And closely connected to that is, I love learning more about it. And so that's the other thing that I think goes a long way towards defeating that imposter syndrome. Just keep learning more stuff about what you do. Get better at it.
Keep fine-tuning.
Yeah.
Got it. And what are some of the common branding mistakes that a lot of these freelancers do, and how can they avoid them?
Branding is really not my expertise. I mean, there's
Right.
people that know a lot more about it than I do. The two things that I do know about branding are, number one, it's what we do and how we do it. That's the biggest example of our brand. It's what we do and how we do it. So we should be able to explain that briefly. That's the second part.
Got it.
Know exactly what you do and how you do it, and be able to communicate it as simply and briefly as possible.
Got it. How do people actually try not to be salesy? I mean, often we have seen freelancers, they get into this whole self-promotion thing too much and they become very salesy. I think one of the things that they ought to understand, it's pushing yourself or pushing your concept may not lead to sales always. So I think they need to add that value. So what's your thought on that?
It's a question you asked earlier about being able to describe your value in client terms, not your terms. It's not what we do that matters. It's the outcome that we help our clients get. And when we have the opportunity to speak with, be it a client, a prospect, whomever, what we really want to talk about are outcomes. And simply, well, I can help generate these kinds of outcomes if that's of any interest to
Right.
you. If it's not of any interest, we don't have to talk about it. But I mean, that's the difference, is to just be able to have a conversation with your prospects, with the people that you meet, and just learn about them. In the course of a two-way conversation, a direction, an outcome is going to arise. Either
Right.
there's going to be something there to talk about today, maybe it's going to be something tomorrow, maybe it's never going to be an issue. But building our brand is simply meeting these people and having those conversations. Whether you ever become a client of mine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's an outcome. If it has to happen, it'll happen anyways.
Right.
Cool. So I know that my next question, you already answered it. So the next question was about if they are invisible in the market, what are some of the easy and first steps that they can do? Networking is.
Yeah, networking is one of them. LinkedIn is the other. What you help people do with Sales Navigator, I think, is priceless. I think that is a brilliant way to automate the process of being able to meet the people you want to meet.
Right.
And set up that automated campaign. These are the people I want LinkedIn to go find for me and go send them invitations. Let's get connected and see where the conversation goes from there.
Cool. So can you share any success story of someone whom you have coached and who has effectively expanded their brand and success? I know we talked earlier in one of our podcasts about the person who actually hangs, Chris Pastor.
Yeah.
So do you have similar stories or?
Every one of the clients that I've had an opportunity to work with is a unique individual. And what I've learned in these exercises is it's totally up to them as to what they really want to accomplish. And when we start talking about capacity,
Right.
How many gigs can you do in the course of a week
or a
a
month,
year?
yeah.
Yeah. It all depends on them, on how hard do they want to work? How many gigs do they really want to do? Chris is by far my best example.
You want to tell that story once again because, that's another podcast. So.
Very simply, Chris is a one-person operation, and he hangs TVs. And he hangs somewhere between 30 and 40 of them every month. And he has figured out a way to generate those leads. And he does I think the max he can do in a day is 4, and he works 4 days a week. And the 5th day, he always gets a massage because hanging TVs requires that.
Right.
So he's built this business that suits his life, and he's making the money that he wants to make and living a comfortable life.
Excellent. If I were to ask you to the top 3 things that every freelancer must do in their first 6 months to 1 year of being in business, what would they be?
The top 3 things?
Top 5, whatever you feel like.
I'll try to keep it at 3.
Yeah.
Number 1, figure out exactly what your gig is going to be, and
Narrow it down.
figure out how long it's going to take you to do it. How do you start it? How do you end it? Define the gig so you know that this is what it is. And the example I use is a rock and roll band. I mean, their whole business is getting gigs. Okay. When we go do a gig, this is how much time it's going to take. And this is how much money we're going to get paid for doing that gig. It's the simplest example I know of. So setting up your gig is critical. Number 2, how many gigs do you really want to do?
A week, a month. Yeah.
Yeah. And then number 3, what are you going to charge given that quantity of gigs to make the money that you want? Those would be my 3.
3 things.
Yeah.
That's establishing the gig, but how about other in terms of marketing, and because you're talking about branding and awareness?
So that's the second question then is, okay, great. How am I going to get gigs?
Yes.
Okay. In the beginning, I don't think you have any idea how you're going to do that. But the one thing that you have absolute control over is having that one conversation with a viable person, whether they're a prospect or a connector or something, but to have at least one of those conversations every day. You can certainly do more, but life seems to get in the way of freelancers all the time.
Right.
And so just make sure that you have at least 5 good conversations with people every week.
That makes sense. So, what are some of the tools or resources that you would recommend each of these freelancers to use while they try to establish themselves?
AI and LinkedIn and Perplexity. I use those 3 tools.
When you say AI, you're talking about
ChatGPT.
Okay.
Or any of the AI tools to help you get your words right.
Correct. Okay.
Anything you're trying to do, either hire a copywriter or get on
Use
AI and find the words, because before you can wow anybody with the work you're going to do for them, you've got to intrigue them with words. And if the words don't say anything, they ain't going to work. So you've got to get the words right. And then go on LinkedIn and find people that are doing what you're doing and go learn how they're communicating their value.
Right.
And then lastly, go on Perplexity and find out who your clients are so you can start going to find those people, and then go back to LinkedIn and go find those people.
Got it. Lastly, one piece of advice that you would like to give to all the freelancers before they launch their business?
Get the words right. Get your words right. You have to aim at a very specific target in order for your words to have any real meaning. If you try to aim at everybody, you're going to put words on the table that sound nice. They sound good. They just don't mean anything. I'm going to help you grow your business. Okay, really? Well, what do you mean by grow
From
my
X
business?
to Y, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
By doing so.
I'm convinced that the most common promise out there is, I'm going to help you grow your business. I mean, that pops up everywhere. If you could imagine that conversation when you go to any networking event, this is what's likely to happen. Well, what do you do for a living? I help people grow their business. That conversation probably takes place 1 million times a day.
Right.
And it doesn't mean anything. Because what does growth mean? Do you want more gross income? Do you want more clients? Do you want more net income? Do you want a new marketplace? What do you mean by grow? Do you want to expand your operation to Paris? What do you mean?
Right.
We got to be more specific, and then we got to get our words right so that we can actually appeal to that
To
particular.
the right audience. Yeah. Okay. So we are into a rapid fire section,
Okie doke.
and quick questions, and feel free to take your time. So one word that defines a strong personal brand.
One word. One word.
One word.
One word. I'm gonna say the word compassion.
Yeah.
And I just finished reading a book called Compassionomics. And it's about the medical practice. And the point the authors are making in the book that the doctors who are believed to be competent, the number one factor that patients use to determine that is the obvious compassion that the doctor shows for the patient. And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Right.
I think if we're doing what we truly want to do, and we can reveal that we have a real care and concern for the clients that we're trying to help, that's probably the one word we ought to
Master.
think about every now and again.
Yep. So what's more important from a freelancer's perspective, credibility or visibility? It's an easy answer.
Credibility.
Credibility. Okay.
Yeah. You can become visible for the wrong thing and not necessarily good. Contrary to the old adage that all PR is good PR. That's not true.
Cool. So what's the best way to get your first client?
You probably already know that person. They don't have to be a stranger. The best way to get your first client is to go reconnect with the people you already know who are in your target market. And whether they pay you to do the work, don't worry about it. Just go do it. Getting your first client is always the hardest thing to do.
Right.
Because you have every right to have an imposter syndrome at that point, because you haven't done anything yet. So maybe you ought to go do something.
Yep. What, according to you, is the number one myth about personal branding?
The word that has been buzzing around in my head that I really want people to understand is the word hyperbole, and to get rid of it. ESPN can hype the Super Bowl. ESPN has earned the right to do that, and the Super Bowl has earned the right to receive that. But you as a freelancer starting off, you don't.
Play it down.
Yeah. If Mark Twain, I forget this quote, but he said, if you can remove all the adjectives and adverbs from your speeches, you'll be much more warmly received. Just state the facts, Jack. You don't have to hype them up with adjectives and adverbs.
Right. I'm a strong believer in that as well. So testimonials or free samples, which builds trust faster?
Let me ask you that question. What do you think?
I think when you're starting off, free samples works better. But as you build your business, testimonials help you better.
Once in my life, my wife and I, she had a business, has had a business, and we were trying to hire somebody to do something. And we went on their website, and they had all these testimonials. And we called one. And the guy answered the phone, and we were talking to him, and the guy said, wait a minute, that company put me on there as a testimonial? Yeah. You gotta be kidding. He said, that's the worst experience of my life. He said, they were a total fraud. As evidenced by the fact that they used your name on this testimonial, which was false. And so I have this aversion to testimonials.
Okay.
Unless the testimonial is very succinct in saying that this is the problem I had. This is the result Sudev brought me, and I'm really happy with the result.
And video testimonials, that too. Not necessarily.
You like videos more than I do.
It keeps authentic.
Well, in that case, he could have faked that testimonial too. He could have used somebody else pretending to be that person. So
There are multiple
you
ways
can
to do it,
phony
yeah,
them
but,
up, but
yeah.
yeah. I'm still open on that one, whether the video testimonials are better than the written ones. In my mind, it's a toss-up. But I like free samples,
Free samples.
especially starting out.
Right.
Do something for somebody. Actually do it.
Makes sense.
And if you can figure out how to do something in a 1-hour event where that client gets to actually interact with you and they get to see the way that you think, if you're organized or not, if you have, whatever you're bringing to the table, let people see it and feel it rather than simply having to listen to you talk about it.
Got it. So, elevator pitch or storytelling, which is more effective?
So in copywriting, there's this debate, is it short copy or long copy?
Yeah,
What works?
both works.
And in copywriting, the answer is they both work. My take on that is, which do you think a client is most likely, or a prospect is most likely to read the entire thing? Short or long?
Short.
That's my answer. I think today's world, especially if you're out trying to talk to business people, I think in the beginning, you've got to use short copy in order to get their attention. Once you've spoken to them, once they're in your word of mouth army, then I think storytelling and long copy will work, provided it's really well done and it's valuable to your army.
So, I have a different take on that.
Good.
So, I believe, I like the fact that what you said about short copy. I agree with you. But I think long copy has got a different purpose. It really depends on the audience that you're looking at. And then let's say I do long copy or long articles for search engines because I want to like I want to have keywords in it that my audience might be looking for. So if I have a very short copy or a short article, it may not have the space to accommodate the keywords that I want to include. So hence the long copy or long articles will actually help them. So that's where, but again, as you rightly said, who's your audience? And depending on the audience, you can have both. Both are not wrong. But, if depends on how do you want to present it?
So that's a great answer. And I, as a copywriter, I'm only ever thinking about the client or the prospect, the audience I'm writing to.
Right.
And I never think about SEO or any of that stuff. That's not on my list of objectives.
Yeah.
Which brings my questioning to, when you're using SEO, when you're incorporating that in your strategies, you are trying to bring strangers into the fold, right?
Yes and no. Yeah, strangers will see it, but they go through a qualification process to answer your question at the bottom of the funnel marketing.
So when I think of SEO, I think that strategy is aiming at strangers to try to initiate contact with them.
That is correct. It's only a way to find us.
Right.
And it's not a way to qualify.
And that's where I have a little bit of a confusion in my mind between, if I'm doing that to reach strangers, do I want to use short copy or long copy in order to do that? And you're making the point that long copy is what is going to get my message in front of somebody.
Several people, yeah.
Right. And if I use short copy, it's not ever going to get there. So It's the exact opposite. In when you're trying to initiate contact with strangers on the internet, you really have to use long copy in order for it to get in front of people. Otherwise, it won't get in front of them.
So the way I look at it again is I would probably use short copy for a landing page and a long copy for an article or long article. Both have landing pages specifically targeted at a certain person who's actually looking at XYZ things,
Yep.
and it kind of knocks it down or boils it down to exactly what I'm looking at. But the long article is for anyone who's typing in some questions on Google, and
Right.
they're searching and they're able to find us.
I get it. Yep.
That's where we're going. All right. So what's the most underrated marketing strategy for new businesses?
Bottom of the funnel efforts, I think, are the underrated events. Whether that's going to a networking event with the express purpose of meeting the organizers, having a specific effort, a thought process in order to meet one person. This is who I really want to meet. And I want to be able to go have a conversation with them and bring them into my word of mouth army. Thinking about creating one new relationship just seems to me to be the underrated effort these days, because we've got all these tools where I can reach millions. Why am I fooling around trying to meet one?
It's true. What's the best way to get referrals from past clients?
Well, I wish I had a good answer to that, because some people can be repulsed by your efforts to get referrals from them. So you've got to there's a very subtle way to do that, to stay in touch with your word of mouth army. And I'm looking forward, now that AI is a bigger part of my coaching practice, in being able to work with my individual clients and having them ask AI, how can I do a better job of getting my army to mention me to other people? And I'm looking forward to those answers.
Cool.
Do you have an answer to that one?
I think it all depends on the relationship that you have with the person. If you've had a great relationship, I think you should just go ask or just have a conversation over a cup of coffee. And referrals is one thing, testimonial is another. So referrals, I think the person is putting his credibility on the line before giving. So
what I encourage my clients to think about is ask your friends, your word of mouth army, simply to mention you.
Yes.
When an opportunity arises.
Correct.
Not for my benefit, but for the benefit of your friend. Just mention
Absolutely.
me.
Just
That's
mention.
all.
That's it. I think that's a better strategy rather than pushing this person or that person. Got it. I know you don't like website, but I'll just ask you this question anyway. What's the first thing that a freelancer should put it on a website?
I do believe that a website is a third or fourth step. I think that a freelancer in startup mode can accomplish everything they want with their LinkedIn profile. Once they get some clients, and once they get a sense for what their offer can actually generate in revenue, so that they actually have some money to spend, okay, fine. Then go figure out, where does that website fit into my business?
Right.
And it's got to be more than just a business card.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's got to have a reason. So if you're going to bring a website into your business operation, the first thing is why. Why are you doing it? What do you think this website is going to do for you?
So let me put it differently. If I were to do my LinkedIn profile, I'm an absolute freelancer starting my business. What should be one of the first things that I do it on my LinkedIn profile? Maybe LinkedIn profile optimization.
Yes. But what does that mean? And what we talk about at Business Club, we use the terms word of mouth army
Yeah.
and your business at a glance. And that is, what's the least I need to know about you in order for me to be alert, to know when should I introduce someone to Sudev? What's the key word that's going to come up that's going to cause me to go, oh, you should talk to Sudev. So that minimal amount of information, that your business at a glance, that should be the foundation for your LinkedIn profile. You want somebody to be able to go there. You want it to be, when you print it out as a PDF, in a perfect world, it's 2 pages.
Right.
And you get to the point really quick. People can see, oh, this is what Sudev does. This is what Steve does. Okay, fine.
Right.
That's it. Keep it short and get to the point.
Yep. What's the quickest way to lose a potential client?
Lie to them.
Maybe fake it. Yeah.
Well, you can fake it. Just don't lie to them.
Right.
Now, honesty and ethics to me are the most important ingredients in any relationship. And if I can't help somebody, I can't help them. If I can help them go find somebody else who can, I'll do that too. But when you bring on a client, when you're a freelancer and you bring on a client, the client has to be comfortable and confident that you're going to be able to help them, and you do too.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. One book every freelancer should read on branding.
What's your answer to that?
I don't have an answer. I'm not a book reader. But I like, there's a lot of books that are on businesses. I mean, I do read a few books, but not particularly on branding. That's okay. We can skip it.
Yeah, I think I don't know that one.
Okay. Personal brand or business brand? What should freelancers focus on first?
Personal brand. It goes back to that quote from Young, when you turn 40 and you realize this is who I am, this is what I want to go do. That's my personal brand. That's me knowing who I am. It's having confidence in myself.
Right.
And I have learned that over the years, that the successful business people that I've known my whole life were just stone cold confident in who they were. And that's what comes first.
Cool. How long does it take to build trust as a new business, according to you?
Wow. You know, in that book, Compassionomics, they did a lot of studies on this. And would you believe that the answer to that question is 40 seconds?
Wow.
A doctor, in the space of 40 seconds, can convey their compassion for that patient. That's all it takes.
But that's from a doctor's perspective.
But
if you're a business owner,
well, you're the same thing. You're a doctor. You're a leader. You're bringing something to that client that you're talking to.
right?
And the book is writing about, in terms of the doctor-patient relationship, I think is very, very similar to a business owner, a freelancer, and their client. And I think we have to just take 40 seconds to understand that, you know, after chatting with you for a little while,
Are you a good fit or not?
let me see if I understand your business. Let me tell you what I think I heard you tell me. And if I can convey to you that I listened to you and I heard what you were telling me, that's how we
build
do it.
trust. I agree.
Yeah. And it doesn't take long.
No, it doesn't. You just have to understand, be a good listener, and then articulate.
How many times have you heard that? You know, be a good listener.
Oh yeah.
And I've never really thought about, okay, well, fine. How do I prove to you I was a good listener?
Listen.
Well, you know, you have eye contact and you go, oh yeah, that's, and you make those little noises. But no, what Compassionomics offered was replay it. Let the client know that you heard what they said. That, and you've seen these conversations, right? The client says something, and then you come back with something that's related to that conversation, but you didn't reiterate what they said.
Right.
You took the conversation in a different arena. But if we just take a little bit more time to go, hey, you know what you just said was really interesting, and just incorporate those elements in the conversation, I think that might help build that trust.
Yep, I agree completely. What are some of the biggest mindset shifts that the freelancers have to make to be able to succeed?
I think the successful freelancer has a game plan. They know what it is they're trying to do, and they're confident that they can do it. Now, whether that's a mind shift or not, I don't know, because I do think it goes back to we're 40 years old. We know what we're doing when we're bringing something to the marketplace. I know that people think that entrepreneurialism is a young person's game, and there's a lot of truth in that. But I think a lot of those businesses are aiming at holes in the marketplace, and they're not necessarily what that founder loves or wants to do.
They're doing it because there is an opportunity that exists,
Right.
not necessarily pursuing their passion.
Right. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
And either one's fine. I mean, I have said to people that, oh, Steve, I'm only in this for the money. Okay, fine. My suggestion is get in it, make all the money you can, and get out.
And then pursue your passion.
Yeah, and go do what you like to do.
Cool. And final question, if you had only one tip to give to freelancers about branding, what would that be?
Ikigai.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to be a freelancer, if you're going to go do this, it's not easy. So enjoy it. Design it. Design your business so that everything about it is fun.
Yep.
Reaching out and having these one-on-one conversations with people, they should be fun. Enjoy them.
I agree. So if you have not watched the Ikigai podcast, go watch it. That's your next step. So thank you, Steve. Once again, lovely talking to you. Always
Lovely
a pleasure.
talking with you too. Thank you very much.
Great. Hey guys, I hope you really liked the video. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. And we would like to reach many more small business owners. I would really appreciate if you can share the video with them as well. Thank you and see you until next time. Have a great one.